I overheard my stepmom and stepsister scheming to cut me out of my dad's inheritance, so I packed up and left. I spent a whole year scraping by on my own. Now my dad finally knows the truth and everything's changed. I'm a 26-year-old guy, and for the past 6 years I've been living with my dad, my stepmom Lynette, and her daughter Chloe. My mom passed away when I was 19 and dad remarried just a year after she died. It all happened so fast. One moment I was still grieving my mom, and the next I was suddenly part of a new family complete with a stepmom who called herself Lynette and a stepsister, Chloe, who was 3 years younger than me. Things started off manageable. Not warm and fuzzy, but tolerable. Lynette did her best to act like a caring mother figure, but something about it always felt like she was just going through the motions. Chloe kept things civil, though she was never really interested in getting close. I figured the weirdness was just part of adjusting to a new family setup. I assumed we'd grow into something more natural over time. After my mom passed, my dad threw himself into work. And honestly, not much changed in that regard after he remarried. He owns a business, so he's constantly busy, either traveling or pulling long hours. That left me spending a lot of time alone with Lynette and Chloe. At first, I didn't mind. We still had dinners together when Dad was home, and from the outside, we looked like a perfectly normal blended family. I went off to college nearby and came home most weekends and during school breaks. When I graduated, I moved back, and while I looked for a job in my field. That's when the shift began. Lynette stopped pretending to be nice. She'd toss out little comments here and there, stuff like how I should be out on my own by now. Chloe had just finished college too and had moved back in, which made things feel cramped in the house. There was this weird tension in the air, something I couldn't quite explain. I was actively job hunting, sending out resumes, showing up for interviews. It wasn't easy, especially with the way the economy's been, but I was doing what I could. Dad stood by me through it. He kept saying I shouldn't settle and that the right job would come along. Lynette, though, made it crystal clear she wanted me gone. Her jabs became more pointed, less subtle. Then came the day that turned everything upside down. I was in my room with the door shut when I overheard them, Lynette and Chloe, talking just outside in the hallway. I guess they thought I wasn't home because they weren't trying to whisper. I heard Lynette say they needed to get rid of him before the will is finalized. Chloe jumped in right after, saying they couldn't risk me getting an equal share. My stomach dropped. It didn't take long to realize they were talking about me. I froze, listening as they brainstormed different ways to nudge me out. Lynette suggested taking away my access to the family car to make job interviews harder. Chloe, in that creepy calm voice of hers, floated the idea of accidentally damaging my laptop so I couldn't apply to jobs online. They kept going, talking about the money they'd get if I were out of the picture, all the trips they could take, the things they could buy. Meanwhile, I sat there behind my door, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. When they finally walked away, I just sat in silence. Nauseous. Shaking. These were people I'd lived with for years, people I had tried to think of as family, and they were planning to push me out like I was a problem they needed to erase. The days that followed were surreal. I kept up the act, trying to play it cool. But every time I looked at them, all I could see were those smirks and cold, calculated eyes. I caught them watching me more than once, like they were tracking my next move. I thought about telling my dad the truth. But I hesitated. He seemed genuinely happy with Lynette, and I couldn't bring myself to be the one to wreck that illusion. And besides, it would have been my word against theirs. So I kept quiet and started planning my exit. I reached out to friends, seeing if anyone needed a roommate. I widened my job search, applying for roles I'd previously written off. I just needed a way out. Then came a stroke of luck. A friend of a friend was heading overseas for 8 months and needed someone to sublet their apartment. The rent was high, but it was just barely within reach if I dipped into my savings. I didn't think twice, I took the place. When I told my dad I was moving out, he looked surprised but told me he understood. Lynette and Chloe, though, they practically threw a party. They offered to help me pack, smiling way too much and throwing sneaky little glances at each other whenever they thought I wasn't looking. The day I left, I overheard them again. This time, they were talking about how to make sure Dad didn't revise the will now that I was out of the house. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about getting me out of their space. They wanted me erased from everything. I've been in my new apartment for about a month now. The small, kind of rough around the edges, but it's mine. I'm still applying for full-time work and picking up gig jobs here and there just to stay afloat. It's far from perfect, but I'd take this over living under the same roof as those two any day. Dad still calls me every few days. I can tell he's concerned. I don't visit much and he's starting to notice. I tell him I'm just busy settling in and job hunting. I haven't told him the truth. Not yet. Sometimes I think about getting a lawyer, maybe finding a way to secure whatever part of the inheritance was supposed to be mine. But deep down, it's not about the money. What really hurts is realizing that the people I lived with for years saw me as nothing more than a threat to their lifestyle. Every now and then, especially on the harder nights, I wonder if my mom would be disappointed in me for not speaking up. But then I remember what she always used to say: family isn't about blood or money. It's about love, loyalty, and kindness. And by that measure, Lynette and Chloe were never truly my family to begin with. I don't know what's coming next. Part of me wants to blow the whole thing up, confront them, call them out. But another part just wants to move on and never look back. Right now, I'm focusing on putting one foot in front of the other. I'm building a life that doesn't depend on anyone else's approval or inheritance. And last week, I finally got some good news. I landed a job. It's entry level, the pay isn't great, but it's something. A start. I haven't told Dad. I'd rather keep it to myself. The less Lynette and Chloe know about my life now, the better. If they're not in the loop, they can't interfere. I also started therapy. It's not fancy, just the most affordable one I could find. But it's been helping. My therapist suggested writing unsent letters to Lynette and Chloe to get my feelings out. I filled whole notebooks with things I wish I could say to them. Sometimes I dream about my mom. In those dreams, she's always smiling. She tells me she's proud of me. Some mornings I wake up with this strange blend of comfort and heartache. There's a kind of peace in having my own space now, but I miss my mom more than ever. I keep wishing I could talk to her. Just hear her voice, get her advice, ask her what the hell I'm supposed to do now. Lately, I've been thinking about reaching out to her side of the family. We haven't spoken much since her funeral. It was just too painful for all of us back then. But now I feel this deep craving for connection, for something real. Maybe it's time to try and rebuild those lost relationships. As the months have gone by, I've fallen into a steady rhythm. Work, home, sleep, repeat. It's not exactly thrilling, but it's stable. And stability right now feels like a gift. I'm slowly piecing together a life that has nothing to do with Lynette, Chloe, or whatever money they were after. My dad's birthday is coming up next month, and I keep going back and forth on whether I should go to the family dinner. Part of me wants to be there for him. I miss him, honestly, but the thought of sitting at that table, across from Lynette and Chloe, pretending everything's peachy, just thinking about it makes my stomach knot up. To keep myself grounded, I started volunteering on weekends at a local youth center. A lot of the kids there come from broken homes or are dealing with the loss of a parent. I connect with them more than I ever thought I would, helping them process their grief and anger. It's been strangely healing for me, too. Every now and then, I catch myself wondering what story Lynette and Chloe are spinning about why I left. Are they telling people I was some ungrateful stepson who bailed on the family? Or did they just erase me entirely, like I never existed? I try not to dwell on it, but the thoughts sneak in late at night. Thankfully, I've started forming new friendships, some through work, others through volunteering. It's refreshing to be around people who know me for me, not for my last name or the potential inheritance they think I'm tied to. These friendships feel honest, and that's something I haven't had in a while. A few weeks ago, I ran into Chloe at the grocery store. It was uncomfortable. She turned on this fake friendly charm, asking about my job and my apartment. I kept things short and polite, but I got out of there as fast as I could. Even though I smiled, I was rattled for days after. That run-in made me think about my future again. Do I really want to stay in this city, where I could bump into Lynette or Chloe at any moment? Or would it be better to pack up, start fresh somewhere new, somewhere no one knows what I've been through? The idea is tempting, but leaving my dad behind, I don't know if I'm ready for that. Now that my lease is almost up, I've got decisions to make. Should I renew? Try to find a better place? Moving again sounds exhausting, but so does staying cramped in this little apartment long term. It's just another reminder of how much everything in my life shifted so fast. I've dipped a toe into dating again. Nothing serious, just a few casual dates here and there. It's been nice, but I catch myself holding back. I'm wary, like I'm waiting for the rug to be pulled out from under me again. My therapist says that's normal, that trust takes time to rebuild. Work's been going surprisingly well. I got a small promotion recently, and for the first time in a while, I'm not draining my savings just to make rent. It's a small step, but it feels like progress. Still, I haven't told my dad what I overheard that night in the hallway. I think about it a lot. I start to bring it up in my head, but I always talk myself out of it. What if he doesn't believe me? What if it wrecks our relationship? I've already lost enough family, I don't think I could handle losing him too. Sometimes I catch myself getting mad at my mom for dying. I know it's irrational, she didn't choose to leave, but the feelings, they're all the same. If she were still here, none of this would have happened. I'd still have a real home. A real family. I try to let those thoughts go, but they linger like fog. I've taken up cooking lately. Back at home, I never had to learn, someone was always there to handle meals. But now it's on me. I'm not great at it, not yet, but I'm getting better. There's something oddly comforting about preparing food for myself, like I'm reclaiming some control. The holidays are creeping up, and with them comes a whole new level of emotional landmines. Do I go home for Christmas? Or do I dodge it altogether with some excuse? The idea of sitting around a table full of forced smiles and shallow small talk makes my skin crawl. But the idea of spending it alone isn't much easier. Lately, sleep's been hit or miss. Some nights I lie awake, stuck in a loop, replaying that awful conversation I overheard. I analyze everything, every look, every comment, every cold moment with Lynette and Chloe, trying to see if I missed the signs earlier. It's exhausting, but I can't seem to stop. There are moments I want to confront them directly, just look them in the eye and say, I know what you did. But I don't. Because honestly, what would it change? They deny it. Maybe even spin it back on me. And if it got back to my dad? I don't know if I'm ready for that fallout. Some days are good. I go to work, I get home, I keep going. Other days, it feels like the weight of everything crushes me. Those are the days it's hard just to get out of bed. It's tough to function in a world where the people who were supposed to love and support me treated me like a burden. To cope, I started journaling. Every day, I jot down whatever's on my mind, anger, fear, memories, little victories. It's helped more than I expected. Maybe one day I'll look back on these pages and see how far I've come. Right now, they're just a lifeline. I'm coming up on 8 months of living on my own. And when I look back, I can see how much has changed. I'm not the same guy who sat frozen behind a bedroom door, listening to 2 people plot against him. I'm more resilient now. A little tougher. A little more guarded. But also more self-reliant than I've ever been. I'm still figuring things out, how to move forward, how to trust again, how to build something lasting. I don't have all the answers. I don't know if I'll ever call out Lynette and Chloe or tell my dad the truth or fully move on from this betrayal. Those questions still hang in the air. For now, I'm doing my best to take it day by day. I'm working on building a life that's truly mine. It might not look the way I thought it would, but it's mine, and that counts for something. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. Update 1. It's officially been a year since I walked out of my dad's house after overhearing Lynette and Chloe plotting to get rid of me. A lot has changed in that time, not all of it for the better. Sorry it took me so long to post an update. Life's been nonstop, and honestly, I've been struggling to find both the time and the emotional energy to sit down and write all this out. Between work, therapy, and just trying to keep my head above water, updating Reddit wasn't exactly at the top of my list. I know a lot of you have been wondering how things turned out, so I'm finally sitting down to write this update. Honestly, it's taken me a while to get the energy and the courage to talk about everything. But here it is. First off, thank you. To everyone who commented on my original post, who offered advice, empathy, or just kind words, you don't know how much that meant to me. Especially during those first few months when I felt completely alone. Reading your comments made me feel a little less invisible. I tried to read every message, even if I didn't always have it in me to respond. Your support helped pull me through some dark nights, and I'll always be grateful for that. So here's where things stand now. I'm still working the same job I got shortly after moving out. It's decent work, nothing glamorous, and the pay just barely covers the bills. I've been applying to other jobs, trying to move up, but this job market? Brutal. Every rejection email stings like a slap, like a reminder that I'm still trying to dig myself out of this hole. My relationship with my dad, well, it's not great. I've been dodging family events and making lame excuses whenever he asks to meet up. He's caught on, of course. Lately, he's been calling more often, checking in, asking if I'm okay. And I hate lying to him. But I just can't bring myself to tell him the truth about why I left. Not yet. The few times we've seen each other, he's looked tired. Worn down. I don't know if it's stress from Lynette and Chloe or just him worrying about me. A few months ago, I went to his birthday dinner. I almost didn't, but guilt won out. And yeah, it was just as awful as I imagined it'd be. Lynette and Chloe laid it on thick, smiles that didn't reach their eyes, syrupy questions about my job and how I was settling into my place. I could feel them sizing me up, trying to figure out if I was still a threat to their plans. I lasted through dinner, made up some excuse about needing to prep for work early, and left. Christmas was no easier. I told Dad I had to work, but truthfully, I just couldn't stomach another fake family gathering. I spent the day alone, heating up a microwave turkey dinner and watching old holiday movies. It was quiet. Lonely. But a beat pretending to be part of a family I no longer trust. Telling my dad the truth still feels impossible. I think about it constantly. But then the doubts creep in. What if he doesn't believe me? What if it ruins whatever relationship we have left? Or worse, what if he does believe me and stays with Lynette anyway? That thought hits me harder than I care to admit. Therapy has helped, but it's a slow road. I'm still swimming through a mix of anger and betrayal. Some days I feel like I'm making progress. Other days I'm stuck in the same spiral. My therapist reminds me it's a process, that healing doesn't happen overnight. Still, it's hard not to feel like I'm falling behind. I've bumped into Chloe a few more times around town. Each time she pretends nothing happened. She acts like we're old friends catching up. And every time I can feel my skin crawling. I've started avoiding places where I might see her, or worse, both of them. The youth center has continued to be a lifeline. There's this kid, Miles, he lost his mom last year. We've grown close. Helping him work through his grief has been unexpectedly therapeutic for me, too. In some strange way, I feel like I'm helping a younger version of myself. Dating, though? That's been rough. I've gone on a few dates over the last year, but they never really get past the surface. I always find myself holding back, waiting for the moment they decide I'm too much. My last date actually told me I had too much baggage. And, well, maybe she wasn't wrong. With my lease ending next month, I'm at another crossroads. This apartment is small and loud, and the heater only works when it wants to, but it's been mine. I've looked at other places, even thought about relocating to a different city. The idea of a clean slate is appealing. Still, it's hard to imagine leaving my dad behind for good. As strained as things are, I'm not sure I'm ready to shut that door completely. I'd finally reach out to my mom's sister, Aunt Janine. We hadn't spoken since the funeral. It was a little awkward at first, but once we got talking, it felt like reconnecting with a piece of my mom. She invited me to spend a weekend with her and her family. I'm thinking about it, though I'm nervous. I don't even know how I begin to explain everything that's happened. Work has gotten more stressful lately. There are rumors going around about layoffs, and since I'm one of the newer hires, I know I'm vulnerable. The possibility of losing my job scares me more than I'd like to admit. I've got some savings, but not much. Not enough to last long. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, panicked. I dream about losing everything, having to crawl back to my dad's house, knowing Lynette and Chloe would be waiting there with smug smiles. I'll jolt awake, drenched in sweat, heart pounding. It takes forever to calm back down. My birthday came and went not long ago. Dad called, of course. A few friends took me out for drinks, tried to make it fun. But it was hard not to think about the birthdays when Mom was still around, when we'd celebrate as a real family. Those memories feel like they belong to a different life. I've been thinking about her a lot lately. About what she'd say, how she'd help me through all this. Sometimes I talk to her photo, tell her everything like she's still listening. Maybe it's silly, but it helps me feel like she's still here in some way. The anger I feel toward Lynette and Chloe hasn't really faded. If anything, it's grown. There are times I imagine confronting them, laying everything bare, watching their faces when I say I know. In my head, they crack. They confess. My dad sees them for who they are and kicks them out. But that's just a fantasy. I've started quietly looking into legal options. I met with an estate lawyer a few weeks ago. He said without any proof of what I overheard, there's not a lot I can do. He did mention the idea of asking my dad to set up a trust, but that would mean finally telling him everything. And I'm still not ready for that. All the stress has taken a toll on my health. I've lost weight and I'm tired all the time. My doctor said my blood pressure's up and I need to find ways to decompress. Easier said than done. Sometimes I wonder if the only real solution is to leave, just move far away, disappear, and start over completely. But when I think about the possibility of never seeing my dad again, it tears me up inside. Even in all this mess, there have been some small blessings. I've made a few close friends, people from work and volunteering who genuinely care about me. They don't know the full story, but they've been kind, supportive in the ways that count. To keep my mind off everything, I've picked up a couple new hobbies. I started learning guitar, something I've always wanted to do but never made time for. I'm terrible at it, but I love it. There's something calming about the routine of practicing. I've also taken up running. It clears my head, at least for a little while. At first, running was just a way to get out of my apartment, clear my head, and burn off some of the stress. But to my surprise, I started to enjoy it. There's something freeing about it, pushing my body past its limits, focusing on nothing but the rhythm of my feet hitting the pavement. For those miles, I'm not thinking about Lynette or Chloe or Dad. It's just me and the road. As the 1-year mark since I moved out crept up, I couldn't shake the sense that I should be further along by now. Like I was supposed to have it all figured out. My therapist tells me that's normal, that healing isn't a straight line. I'm doing my best to believe her. I did finally make the trip to see Aunt Janine and her family. Being around people who actually knew my mom, who could tell stories about her that I'd never heard, was unexpectedly emotional. For a couple of days, I felt something I hadn't in a long time, a sense of belonging. But coming back to my quiet apartment afterward hit harder than I expected. That visit stirred up a lot. Aunt Janine asked about Dad, asked how he was doing with his new wife, as she put it. I couldn't find the words. I just froze. She noticed. Of course she did. Gently, she asked what was wrong. I ended up telling her everything. She was furious. Absolutely livid on my behalf. She wanted to call Dad right then and there to confront Lynette and Chloe herself. It took everything I had to calm her down, to explain why I hadn't told him yet. She didn't agree with my choice, but she respected it. Before I left, she made me promise to keep in touch and to reach out if I ever needed anything. Just knowing someone from my mom's side is in my corner again, that's been a quiet comfort I didn't realize I'd missed. Aunt Janine checks in regularly now. She even offered to let me stay with her if things ever got too tight financially. I haven't taken her up on that yet, but it helps just knowing the options there. Then, last week, everything came to a head. Dad showed up at my place out of the blue, looking worn out and worried. He said he couldn't take the silence anymore, that he needed to know what was going on. I tried brushing him off at first, same old excuses, but he didn't back down. So I cracked. I told him everything. I told him what I overheard that night outside my bedroom, how Lynette and Chloe were scheming behind his back, how they wanted to cut me out of the will and push me out of his life. I told him how I'd spent the last year questioning everything, afraid of losing what little family I had left. The words just poured out of me, messy and emotional and way overdue. He sat there in stunned silence. I could see the gears turning as I spoke, his expression growing more serious with every sentence. When I finally stopped talking, he didn't say much, just sat there for a while, taking it all in. Then he said he was sorry. That he had no idea what was happening under his own roof. That he felt like he'd failed me. He didn't say outright that he believed me, but he didn't doubt me either. He said he was going to look into it, that he'd pay more attention to how Lynette and Chloe act around him. He also told me he'd talk to his lawyer about securing my inheritance regardless of what happens between him and Lynette. I felt lighter afterward, like I could finally breathe. But that relief came with guilt too. I worried I might have just blown up his marriage, or at least planted the seed that would. Dad told me I did the right thing, that he needed to hear it. But I could see it in his eyes, the pain, the confusion, the conflict. It's been a week since that conversation. He sent me a quick text saying he's looking into everything and that he'll be in touch soon. That was it. I'm trying not to overthink the silence, but it's hard not to worry. Then yesterday, Lynette called me out of nowhere. Her voice was all sugar, inviting me to dinner like nothing ever happened. I made up some excuse about a work shift and politely declined. But it left me feeling queasy. Part of me wonders if she knows Dad and I talked, and if she's trying to play damage control. Now, as I head into my second year of living on my own, I feel like I'm standing at a fork in the road. Do I stay in this city, close to Dad, but also dangerously close to Lynette and Chloe? Do I move in with Aunt Janine, start fresh with my mom's side of the family? Or do I go full reset and build a life in a brand new city where no one knows what I've been through? I don't have the answers yet. But for the first time in a long time, I don't feel completely stuck. The future is still foggy, still scary, but it doesn't feel as hopeless as it used to. No, I'm not okay. Not yet. But maybe I'm getting there. One slow, stubborn step at a time. These days, I'm focusing on what I can control: my job, my volunteering, my guitar practice, and weekend runs. I'm trying to build something that belongs solely to me, that doesn't rely on anyone else's approval or inheritance. It's not what I imagined my life would look like at 26, but it's mine. And that means something. That conversation with Dad brought up a lot. I've found myself thinking about Mom more than ever lately. Wondering what she would say if she were still here. Would she be proud of me? Disappointed? Would she tell me to fight harder, or to let go? I'll never know. And not knowing, it stings. Sleep hasn't come easy lately. Every time the phone rings, my heart jumps. I keep waiting for a call from Dad. Good news or bad, I just want to know what's happening. The waiting is its own kind of torture. So I've been throwing myself into everything else, work, volunteering, running, guitar, just to stay distracted. But in the quiet moments, it all comes flooding back. Update 2. Last week, Chloe tried to friend me on social media. I didn't respond. I didn't even open the request. Just seeing her name pop up made my stomach twist. I don't know if she's trying to keep tabs on me or keep pretending we're still a family. Either way, I want no part of it. Lately, I've been thinking about the future more seriously. Before all of this, I had vague dreams, maybe grad school, maybe advancing in my career. Yeah? I still feel like I'm stuck in survival mode, just trying to keep from drowning. I wonder when I'll be able to think about the future with hope again instead of fear. My lease is up next week, and after a lot of thinking, I decided to move. Not far, just a better apartment in a quieter part of town. It's a small upgrade, but it feels meaningful. Like I'm choosing forward motion instead of just standing still. Last night, I had dinner with Miles, the teenager I've been mentoring at the youth center. He's heading off to college soon. He thanked me for everything I've done for him this past year. Said I helped him believe in himself again. That moment gave me something I didn't realize I needed, a little flicker of hope. If he can move forward, maybe I can too. Now, as I pack up my little apartment, I keep looking around and thinking about how far I've come. A year ago, I walked out of my childhood home with nothing but a suitcase and a heart full of pain. Today, I have a job, an apartment, friends, support. I've built something, however small, from the ground up. There's still uncertainty, still silence from Dad, but I'm doing my best to be patient, because even though I'm still waiting to hear what he found out, I'm no longer waiting for permission to live my life. Whatever comes next, I know I'll be able to face it. I'm not the same person I was a year ago. I've lived through betrayal, heartbreak, isolation, and I'm still here. Stronger, more aware, more grounded. Right now, my focus is on the move. I've been unpacking, slowly turning this new apartment into a space that actually feels like home. It's a small thing, but it matters. Every piece of furniture, every little decoration, it's mine. No one else's name is on it. It's not tied to Dad or Lynette or Chloe. Just me. It's not the life I imagined for myself, but it's the one I'm building day by day. And honestly, for today, that's enough. Final update. It's been around 3 months since my last post, and a lot has changed. I'm not even sure where to begin, so I'll just start with the biggest news. Dad finally made his decision. After I told him everything about what I overheard, he started digging. Quietly. Methodically. He brought in a private investigator, combed through his financial records, and even set up some kind of sting operation. He hasn't told me all the details, and honestly, I'm okay with that. But whatever he did, it worked. He found out the truth. And it was even worse than I expected. Turns out Lynette and Chloe had been stealing from him for years. Not large sums all at once, but steady, sneaky withdrawals that added up to a shocking amount. They'd also been manipulating him emotionally, pushing him to change his will, gaslighting him, isolating him. The PI documented everything. When Dad confronted them, it all blew up. Lynette tried to spin it, to deny everything at first. Then she turned on Chloe, blaming her for it all. Chloe, on the other hand, cracked. She admitted to everything. Threw Lynette under the bus in the process. The whole thing turned into a disaster. Dad didn't waste time. He filed for divorce. He's also pressing charges, financial fraud, elder abuse, the whole deal. Last I heard, Lynette and Chloe packed up and left. They're staying with Lynette's sister in another state. And me? I have mixed feelings. On one hand, I feel vindicated. Everything I overheard, everything I feared, it was all real. I wasn't paranoid. I wasn't overreacting. But on the other hand, I hate seeing my dad hurt like this. He really thought he loved Lynette. He built a life with her. And now he's left sorting through the wreckage of a lie. Our relationship still has scars, but we're talking more. He's apologized countless times for not seeing it sooner, for not believing in me the way he should have. I've told him I forgive him. I do. But that doesn't mean the pain just disappears. We've started having weekly dinners, just the two of us. They're a little awkward, sure, but they feel like a step forward. As for me, I'm still in my new place, and I really think the move was the right call. It gave me space, distance, freedom. I've slowly been furnishing the apartment, adding little touches to make it feel like mine. It's not much, but I take pride in it. Work's been going better too. The layoffs I was scared of never happened, and I even got a small raise. For the first time in a long while, I'm not living paycheck to paycheck. I've been able to tuck a bit away in savings. It's not a lot, but it's a start. And for me, that feels huge. Therapy is still ongoing. Some weeks feel heavier than others, but my therapist says I'm moving in the right direction. I don't feel like I'm drowning anymore. The anger is still there, but it's no longer running the show. I'm starting to let go of letting it define me. And I've been spending more time with my mom's side of the family. Aunt Janine has become this constant in my life, someone I can actually rely on. She's been there through all of this. Listening, supporting, guiding. She's kind of taken on that maternal role I've been missing for so long. I've also been reconnecting with my cousins, catching up on years of lost time. It's starting to feel like I actually have a family again. Dating? Still a work in progress. I've gone on a few more dates, but nothing's really stuck. I'm still guarded, still wary, but I'm not rushing it. I'm learning to be patient with others and with myself. One thing I didn't expect, I've started writing. At first, it was just journaling. But now I'm toying with the idea of turning this story into something more. A memoir. Or maybe fiction inspired by reality. I'm not sure yet. But the act of writing? It's been surprisingly healing. Dad and I also had a long talk about the whole inheritance thing. He's gone ahead and set up a trust for me separate from everything else. I told him it wasn't necessary, that I don't care about the money. But he insisted. I think this is his way of trying to make things right. I didn't fight him on it. He's even talking about selling the house. Says it holds too many bad memories. Part of me feels sad about that. It's where I grew up, but I get it. He wants a clean slate. We've been looking at smaller places together. He keeps joking about us becoming roommates, though I think we both know we need some space to keep healing. Last week, I ran into one of Chloe's friends at the grocery store. She gave me this nasty glare, muttered something about me ruining Chloe's life. I wanted to fire back to set the record straight, but I didn't. I just walked away. I know the truth. That's enough. Work has been a solid distraction. I've taken on extra responsibilities, pushed myself, stayed late when needed. My boss noticed. She hinted that a promotion might be on the horizon. It's the first time in a long while that I felt truly seen. Valued. Dad and I are planning a short trip together soon, just a weekend getaway to a nearby lake. We used to camp there when I was little, back before everything changed. It feels like a chance to rebuild. To make new memories where the old ones still live. I've been thinking about my mom a lot lately. Aunt Janine recently gave me a box of her things, old letters, photos, even a few pieces of her jewelry. Going through them brought up a lot of emotion. But it also gave me a sense of peace. It's comforting having these pieces of her around. Reminders that she was real, that her love was real. I've also started reaching out to old friends, people I lost touch with while everything was blowing up with Lynette and Chloe. Some have been warm and welcoming. Others not so much. But it still feels good to try. To reconnect with the version of me that existed before all of this. The legal case against Lynette and Chloe is still ongoing. Dad's lawyer updates us now and then. But I'm not letting it consume me. They'll face the consequences they deserve. That part of the story is no longer mine to carry. And finally, I've been thinking about the future. Not with dread, but with curiosity. For the first time in a long while, the path ahead doesn't seem completely dark. I don't know exactly where I'm going, but I'm walking it anyway. One day at a time. And that, I think, is enough. I'm not just surviving anymore. I'm starting to look forward to actually plan for what comes next. Lately, I've been seriously thinking about going back to school, maybe working toward a master's degree. It's a big step and honestly, a little scary. But for the first time in what feels like forever, I believe I could actually do it. There are still hard days. Days when the memories come back sharp and sudden, or when I feel that old heaviness settle in my chest. But the good days? They're starting to outnumber the bad ones. I'm not totally okay. Not yet. But I'm getting there. Every day, I'm building a life that belongs to me, one that isn't shaped by betrayal or fear, or by what Lynette and Chloe tried to take from me. I'm writing a new story for myself, and for the first time in a long while, I feel hopeful. Not just cautiously optimistic, actually excited to see what's ahead. To everyone who's followed my story, who's listened, offered advice, shared encouragement, or just sent a kind word when I needed it most, thank you. Truly. Your support helped carry me through some of the darkest moments of my life. This is going to be my final update. It's time for me to close this chapter and focus on writing the next one. Wish me luck.